Flying robots hovering, watching, raining hellfire down on the enemy. Until very recently, that would be the stuff of video games and science fiction. Now it's the stuff of modern warfare. Scott Chain, author of the Gelber Prize-winning book Objective Troy, A Terrorist, a President, and the Rise of the Drone, and a national security reporter at the New York Times, knows more about this new world of war than most. And he's here to answer 10 questions on drone warfare. Scott, first of all, congrats on the Gelber Prize.
Thanks, Steve.
Well deserved for a great book.
Thanks so much.
Let's go through this now. We want to, Sheldon, if you would, we want to bring up a video, and we warn people at home, this is disturbing. So what we're witnessing is an unmanned aerial vehicle, that's what they're technically called, targeting enemy combatants who are setting up a rocket launcher in Sadr City, that's in Iraq, in 2008. And now what I want to do with Scott is talk about the machine behind that kind of devastation. Here we go. Question 1. When did the American government first consider drones to be a legitimate form of counterterrorism that they could put to use?
They were looking at it before 9/11 and, in fact, considering taking shots at Osama bin Laden, who was hiding in Afghanistan. But it was really only after the 9/11 attacks that they said, we have to start putting missiles on these unmanned aircraft.
I think you've anticipated question 2, which was, is it true that drone pilots once had Osama bin Laden in their sights prior to 9/11?
Yes, and when they were reviewing the tape, they said, imagine if we could have taken a shot, and that's what basically led to this program.
Question 3. The core crew of a drone is a pilot and a sensor operator. Mm-hmm. When they pick a crew, what are they looking for?
In many cases, they're drawing on the ranks of experienced fighter pilots, people with quick reactions, used to looking at things and operating in a hurry. But these days they're actually sometimes recruiting people who are very good at video games. A lot of drone operators are offended by that comparison for reasons we'll probably get to. But but it is the same thing when you look at the setup. It's a joystick with some buttons. And that's, very much resembles, what a kid would do with a video game.
Once again, you have anticipated. Question 4 here. Critics of the drone strike say that these pilots are disconnected from their victims because the whole scenario, darkened room somewhere in Nevada, Tampa, whatever, creates a PlayStation mentality to killing. Is that accurate?
I really think that's not accurate. And this may come as a surprise to people. But if you think about it, it makes sense that if you're flying over in a fighter or a bomber, you have very little personal connection to the people on the ground. If you're operating a drone, you may be watching video, close-up telephoto video of a family compound of some guys for hours, sometimes for days. You see the family relationships, you see them come and go, you see them eat their meals, and I'm told that PTSD and psychological damage to these pilots and sensor operators is almost universal for people who take these shots on a regular basis. So it's sort of almost the opposite of a video game in the end.
Question 5. Do drone pilots get medals?
This has been a debate that's been going on for a while. The cynics in the U.S. Air Force used to refer to the drone pilots as the chair force. And that was the sort of mentality that prevented drone pilots from getting medals. But recently, after a lot of back and forth, there is now an R for remote that goes on certain, sort of decoration that goes on certain medals. So there's a way to recognize these drone crews.
Question 6. Given the alternative, is this a financially more efficient way to kill the enemy?
If the enemy is a bunch of terrorists from a small group hiding in remote areas, it certainly is a lot cheaper than invading a country and trying to hunt those people down, as the United States has found over the last 15 years.
Question 7. How can terrorists possibly avoid the sight of these things when they see them?
One thing that they have done is, if it's possible, to drive immediately to the closest mosque or school or family compound or playground and try and get themselves in the middle of a bunch of civilians, because that will, in most cases, deter the Americans from taking a shot.
Would being in a mosque alone deter taking the shot?
It depends on the scale, the importance of the target. I think there have been strikes taken against mosques There have been strikes taken when the wife of the wanted terrorist has been present, so that she's been knowingly and deliberately killed. But usually they do that only if it's somebody at a high level who they think they will not get another shot at.
Let's follow up on collateral damage with question 8. They are supposed to be such precision instruments. How often do they end up killing innocent civilians who are nearby?
You know, one problem with this program is how secret it has been, and the U.S. government has yet to produce a public estimate of its own as to the number of civilians killed. But by most outside estimates, the number of the percentage of civilians killed has been maybe 10 to 20%, and that would add up into hundreds of civilians versus several thousand militants or terrorists killed. But it's definitely a serious problem. The problem is not precision. They are precise. These are fairly small munitions. The problem is getting the level of intelligence, of granular intelligence, to tell me from you, looking from 15,000 feet in the air as you sit in your trailer in Nevada. And that's where the mistakes get made, is the intelligence and the identification of the target.
Question 9. Barack Obama, at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, told a joke about drones. Tell us the joke and whether you thought it was in poor taste.
You know, there was this boy band, the Jonas Brothers, who were coming to the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and someone on Obama's speech, I think what's made what he may even think of as a joke in bad taste and put it into his remarks. He has 2 daughters, and he said, Sasha and Malia are big fans, addressing the Jonas Brothers, but don't get any ideas. I have only 2 words to say to you: predator, drone. Sort of funny, sort of the protective dad joke, but in the context of a president overseeing a very controversial program that was killing terrorists and also killing some civilians, I think most people who saw that, who had anything to do with this program, sort of cringed.
Question 10. Do you think we're ever going to see the American government deploying drones to take out threats on American soil?
That's a question that comes up a lot, and I have talked to some former FBI and CIA people who answer that question yes. They imagine sort of hostage situations, other situations where somebody is sort of hiding in the hills and is very inaccessible. And as the capabilities of the drone, increase, which we're seeing with every passing month, it may ultimately be safer to have a drone do this than to have a police SWAT team do it.
We're in a brave new world, aren't we?
We are.
That's 10 questions for Scott Shane. Objective Troy, a terrorist, a president, and the rise of the drone is his latest, the Gelber Prize-winning book for foreign affairs. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Steve.
Help TVO create a better world through the power of learning. Visit supporttvo.org and make a tax-deductible donation today.